Welcome to the Spoilers of the Damned podcast. Spoilers of the Damned podcast. Hello and welcome to this episode 11 of the Spoilers of the Damned Twin Peaks sidecast, covering parts 17 and 18 of The Return, the finale, as it were. So, how are you doing, Matt? Oh, more importantly, what year is it?
I don't know anymore.
What year is it? I think those are words that we're going to be saying to ourselves for a long time to come.
Yes.
Although we will talk about potential season 4 at the end, I guess. There is still the potential for it. I'm not sure if I want one. Not in a bad way, just in... I feel this was kind of... I don't know. This was definitely written so that it could be a season 4, but also just be the end, full stop, I think.
Yeah, it was strange.
It was very disjointed as well. I was not expecting to have so many things happen in 17. I was expecting it to kind of be spread out a bit more.
Yeah, so did I, especially resolving one major plot thread that's been going throughout the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
Just
which one?
Sort of ended. Well, yeah. Well, one of them that was actually resolved because there was multiples that just they never bothered to do anything with.
Yep. Yep. So, what we'll do is we'll talk about episode 17 in detail, and then once we're done with that, we'll go on to 18. Because, like I was joking with you just before we started recording, the plot is kind of linear in that it followed one sort of major thread all the way through. So, episode 17, we opened with Cole telling Albert some things that he hadn't told him before. And I just love every scene with Cole and Albert because they're just very slow, and when they say words, it's meaningful. And he kind of goes, "I'm sorry, I didn't tell you, Albert." And then Albert goes, "It's okay." And he goes, "Yeah, but I'm still sorry." So anyway, he talks about Judy, or Jiao Day, as we are told. Sort of like, I guess, is Chinese.
It could be Tibetan, actually, because it's the whole...
Yeah, it could be. Well, we've got... I've got some theories on it later, so we'll go into that I've read. But Judy is essentially this kind of formless evil that potentially could be the mother that birthed Bob. We're not quite sure.
I think it's heavily implied that that is Judy.
Yeah. He also said that he had a plan with Cooper and Jeffries, so there was kind of a plan in place, and when Cooper disappeared, didn't he say something about needing to find him?
Yeah, I think he said like he disappeared. Then...
Yeah. Then look for me, which is pretty solid request, really. Anyway, so he gets a phone call from the FBI in Nevada, who have found Dougie, but not found Dougie. I just keep thinking about that guy slamming on the desk. How many times have I told you? So anyway, and it's at this point that the legend that is Bushnell Mullins kind of intervenes and takes the phone over and passes on Coop's message, which is that he's headed for Twin Peaks. So it's kind of like I can't remember what else the message said. I'm sure there was like a second part to it, but I can't remember what it was.
I can't actually remember myself. There must be somewhere.
Yeah, it's passed over my head. I think, yeah, to the wiki. But essentially, the gist was that he was headed to Twin Peaks, and then he goes, 2 Coopers again. Meanwhile, in Twin Peaks, we witness Chad working out that he's going to try and escape from the cell when that guy, I mean, I've been calling him Billy, but who knows at this point?
Just the drunk. I think he's credited as just the drunk.
Oh, right, yeah. So drunken parrot. Because he kind of like, if he's not asleep against the bars, he repeats pretty much everything he hears.
Yeah.
So he decides that perhaps when that guy's asleep is a good time to escape.
I actually grew to like the drunk quite a bit.
Yeah. I felt... no one should be able to bleed that much from the mouth and be all right afterwards. It seemed to go on for days.
It really did.
But anyway, Chad manages to escape from his cell, but as he's pointing his gun at Andy, Freddy intervenes just by punching the door, which he could have done at any point to get out, by the way. So
yeah.
I love the fact that he realized he wasn't supposed to go anywhere else. His destiny was in the police station.
It's because he's a good guy.
He is a good guy. I do like Freddy, although it's pretty much Freddy Ex Machina at this point, because I know he was introduced in episode 2, but very briefly, and the glove was not mentioned. So literally a couple of episodes ago, we got the guy who would single-handedly, literally defeat the evil that's plagued Twin Peaks for 25 plus years. Not sure how I feel about that, but it was kind of... I'm skipping ahead a bit, but it was very nice to see him kind of defiantly stand up and go, "It's me destiny.
Oh, it's my destiny, chance.
It's arrived."
Pie mash. You know, it was nice to have some kind of confrontation.
Yeah. And it was certainly a confrontation. We'll get on to it because we're very close. Coop's doppelganger, aka Mr. C, appears to travel to the White Lodge. Not sure why he's doing that. I mean, because our initial thought was that he was convening on the police station. However, perhaps the coordinates on Ruth Davenport's arm were not for the police station, but they were for the White Lodge. And he wanted to go to the White Lodge for some other reason, maybe to kind of like invade that space or escape the kind of the fate he was heading towards in terms of being annihilated or return to the Red Room.
Perhaps. I mean, because the thing is, I assumed that everything he was trying to achieve was literally to kill Coop so he could remain, because we found out early in the season that there was 2 of them and only one could really stay. Yeah. One of them had to go back. So I thought, this is what he'll do. But then it turns out that he maybe was going after, is it Nido? I don't know. After a while, his motivations just seemed to fall away to the wayside, and I didn't really know what he was doing anymore.
Yeah.
I had no idea what he was trying to accomplish anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think based on the fact that he goes to the White Lodge, to me seemed to imply that perhaps he wasn't after Nido at all, but rather to gain entrance to the White Lodge in terms of kind of like escaping his fate, or perhaps in some way, I don't know, luring Coop in there or having some kind of confrontation there. But I guess the trick, is to put mud in your pocket, and if you don't put mud in your pocket, then you get trapped in a Photoshop crate that sends you to the police department. Yeah,
another really weird effect, the fact that the cage was just so obviously a flat image.
It was
weird.
Yeah, I mean, and you and me both kind of like our bread and butter is video editing and kind of graphics and stuff, isn't it? So it's always a bit kind of like clenching when you see something that looks a bit weird, but I gotta hand it to him. He has an idea and he runs with it. So if something in his head looks a certain way, he's going to have it look that way, even if it does look a bit off.
Even if it doesn't. Even if it looks like someone literally took 5 minutes to animate.
Yeah, it looks like a YouTube poop or something. But
with Major Garland Briggs' face just floating.
Yeah.
for some reason.
I mean, I'm sure you'd be able to find some kind of like archive footage or something, so you could at least have him like sat there or something.
Yeah,
but I guess they're kind of implying that his head managed to escape to the White Lodge, but his body didn't. I don't know.
It's just a really weird. Again, like for this show to say it's weird, really is saying something, but it was just really odd.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the White Lodge and by extension the fireman was adamant that Bad Coop had to go to the police station because that's ultimately where he was going to be kind of like undone. But yeah, it was just a weird scene. And then of course he does kind of arrive at the police station, and
Yes.
like if I don't know what it was like for you, but for me it was instantly kind of like clenching because everybody is treating him as Coop when he's not Coop, or rather, he's a different Coop. So, and Andy's so excited, and you're just thinking, oh, something bad is going to happen.
I mean, he doesn't even try to act like him. She's like, yes, that would be nice. Initiate startup sequence.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I thought it was going to be a massive red flag when they asked him if he wanted coffee and he said no thanks. I was like, surely that's going to set someone off, but no.
No. I mean, I think did he only say, who did he actually say it to? Was it just Sheriff Truman?
Yeah, at that point, maybe Andy might have left the room.
So I suppose that, yeah, but then again, Truman's been shown to almost basically know exactly who he is because, well, they had to, write in Harry's brother because the actor didn't come back. But yeah, it was really, really tense.
It was really tense,
and I thought something really bad was going to happen.
Yeah, but Lucy was awesome though.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh no! I was pretty much done.
So I was going to say that Lucy manages to overcome her fear of cell phones by working out that if Cooper's on the line, then there can't possibly be Coop in the chair.
Yeah.
And again, this is something that Andy saw in the White Lodge. I saw someone say that apparently Andy kind of like, I'd need to watch it again, but Andy positions her in such a way or something like he does in the vision so that she's kind of there with the gun or something. Like, I don't know. I thought I saw her just walk in and shoot him, but apparently in the vision he's kind of got his hands on her arms and kind of steps away from her like he's just put her in place or something. It's
okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I
haven't actually watched the episodes again since I watched them, mainly because, well, apart from time, it's just, it's 2 hours. I will revisit them at some point, so little things like that will kind of stand out. But for the moment, I've just been relying on the fact that everybody on the Twin Peaks subreddit is going mental, watching it over and over again. So a lot of the things they kind of bring up, I go, oh, okay, that's probably a thing, but I need to actually watch it to see if that was the case.
Yeah, and it's not just like pulling something out of their arse.
Yeah.
Which is often the case.
Very often the case on that subreddit.
Very often.
So, where were we in our plot analysis? Yes, the doppelganger draws a gun on Truman, but is shot by Lucy. Cooper, meanwhile, was on the line.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, bloody cough. But yeah, so, sorry, go on.
So, it's at that particular point that the Mitchums pull up outside the police station and Coop runs in. Andy's there and says, this way. And you're just like, yes, it's finally happening. Yeah. And then, Mr. C is on the floor, and everybody proceeds to enter the room. Literally everybody.
It's like a big Brady Bunch reunion.
It is. Including the Mitchums, the prisoners from downstairs. They also come up, and Nido as well.
Yes.
The woodsman, it says here, the woodsman released Bob from the doppelganger's abdomen, and Freddy proceeds to destroy him. So, what did you think of this sequence?
I was a bit confused because I thought they'd already taken Bob out of the doppelganger.
That's what I thought.
When Ray shot him, it looked like they were taking him out, and they fucked off, unless they took him out and put him back in again.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is that perhaps their act of kind of putting blood over him and stuff to kind of bring him back to life. Perhaps they have to take Bob out while they do that or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it's a bit strange.
It is a bit strange. I definitely thought I was under the impression that he'd been removed. But there are other people who even as far back as episode 8 were saying, no, he hasn't been removed. They just kind of like they were, performing some kind of ritual on him to bring him back to life or something. So I don't know.
No, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
It is a bit strange to go to all that trouble to show him as an orb inside him. But I guess maybe that's why they showed it then, so that we would know now that would happen.
Yeah,
except
that's true.
We didn't.
Odd to show him being taken out and then see him coming out again. Although the fight was strangely shot.
It was, wasn't it?
It was a bit frightening, just because in the sense it was just Bob screaming at someone as he tried desperately to kill them, which is a bit horrifying. Because it's Bob. But
Beach Bob.
Weird how Beach Bob. It should be weird how
I've heard some people call him Borb as well.
Bob,
because he's the Bob Orb.
Bob. I thought it was really... So he's attacking Freddy somehow. That's because Freddy has blood all over him, but it doesn't look like he's actually hurt in any way. And then he proceeds to punch him into hell, apparently.
Yeah, punch him into the floor, and there's fire involved.
And he comes back up again.
Yep.
And attacks Freddy again. And then Freddy just kind of punches him a few times, and he explodes. Yeah,
it is very... It's an interesting sequence. That's what I just keep referring to it in my mind. I like some of the way it was filmed. Other bits were very disorientating, which I suppose was the point.
Yeah.
There were some cool sound things going on. I don't know if you noticed, but there were kind of voice samples of Bob from the original season.
Yes.
So he was played in the background. I heard I heard something about it, and then I saw it on the subreddit that he said something along the lines of his kind of death bag. I'll get you in a bag. Or
he says he actually just says it to Freddy. He says, "I'll get you with my death bag."
Yeah, I really like that. That was really cool. The kind of the sound, a lot of the sound design this season has been quite interesting.
Oh yeah.
But that's probably also because David Lynch is credited as a sound designer,
and he's crazy.
Yeah, and he's crazy. So anyway, Borb is destroyed by Freddy's magic glove. How do you feel about Freddy being essentially, like I said, the Deus Ex Machina that appeared perhaps 3 or 4 episodes ago? I mean, you had the idea that he was going to arm wrestle Mr. C. You're close. You're very close.
I want to see him punch his face in. I wouldn't have minded so much if he wasn't introduced a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
I think if he was introduced a bit earlier, space it out so we know who this character is already. We know he's got this weird... Show him being weirdly strange, oddly strong, then have him tell the story to James, and you go, okay, so I know this is building up to something. He's not just superhuman for some reason. What kind of disappointed me was the whole. Again, I thought the whole point of not the whole point, but I thought the whole crux of Mr. C's motives were to kill Coop. I thought there was going to, I expected some kind. I didn't expect like a fight, but some kind of showdown between our Coop and the doppelganger. Because it just would have been cool to see. It would have been interesting.
It is strange that they don't share a single scene. By the time Dale appears, he's already on the floor.
Yeah. I'm not saying like, well, it'd be badass if they had a fight. No, I'm saying more along the lines of it would have been really interesting and cool to see them having a conversation or something. And I thought Coop would be the one to ultimately get the upper hand and shoot him before he could shoot him, or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just odd how Mr. C is already on the ground at this point. Freddy, I had no problem with Freddy defeating Bob, because it was, it was already established that he was told to do it by the fireman. Just that they only established that Freddy had this power a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And it was just weird how Coop arrives, Mr. C's on the floor, puts the ring on. There you go, it's done. That's your lot.
And this was, I think this was getting on for literally like halfway through the episode.
Yeah.
So it's not even at the end of part 17. It was halfway through.
So the primary antagonist is gone. Both primary antagonists, they are gone.
I think
unless you want to count Judy.
Yeah. I think in general, that refers back to my one major problem with this season, and that is pacing. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of things could have been paced better.
Definitely.
And if it was paced better, we would have had better kind of like construction of Mr. C's motives. We would have had a better construction of Freddy as a character and spent more time with him.
And I mean, I don't want like them to literally exposit what Mr. C wants to do, but at least give us some kind of inclination, because it just seemed like he was just doing stuff. It's like, I need to do this. I need to do that. I'm going to go here now. Police station. I guess I'll go in.
And he seemed so laser focused until that point.
Yeah,
sort of, that he looked like the man with the plan.
Yeah, I mean, the whole season, I'm sure he was trying to kill Dougie the whole season. Mm. He was sending people to kill Coop. And then he's like, bored. I'm bored of that now.
He was behind the box as well, so, it was clear that he was trying to either capture or kill him. Yeah, as soon as he arrived from wherever it was he arrived.
Really, really odd. But I think especially when you talk about pacing, the final episode was very guilty of dragging in places.
Yeah.
I know we're skipping ahead, but there was a lot of unnecessarily long moments of people just driving.
Yes.
And I know we're skipping ahead to 18 here, but I've seen people try desperately to defend it, saying, well, it's like Lost Highway. I'm like, that's fine. If I want to watch Lost Highway, I'll watch fucking Lost Highway.
Yeah.
But stuff is happening while characters are driving. There's sound, there's music, there's something. It is not just
some
two
banging
characters.
Rammstein or something.
Yeah, it's not just two characters in a car going, oh, is that car following us? No, it's not. Oh, is it? No, it's definitely, is it? Oh, no, it's passing us. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is, we're there. Are we close? Oh. Okay, we've got
as we get on to episode 18, I think my experience, the way I actually watched it, helped in some regards to that kind of thing. But I'll get into more of that later. So I didn't find it as bad, but that was kind of because I was very tired. I was like almost drifting off to sleep.
I was almost drifting off to sleep, and I was awake before. No, I wasn't.
But I think, well, no, of course that's not it for episode 17. So
no.
Once Bob is defeated and Mr. C has the ring on, so he disappears and returns to the Black Lodge. Nido. Well, first off, I just want to say that I love the Mitchums, and yet another great line there was one for the grandkids.
Yeah, and then when Bobby runs in and goes, "What the hell's going on?" And I think it might be Rob Nepper or Jim Belushi turns around and is like, "It's the understatement of the century."
Yeah,
he says something like that. I'm probably getting it absolutely wrong, but
no, I remember it. I remember it. Like
they say something like, yeah. Oh, I love the Mitchums. I'm so glad they didn't die horribly.
Yes, me too. So let's get on to Nido. So the identity of Nido is revealed as Diane.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. This is yet another thing that some people guessed ages ago, and I took one look at it and I went, "What? Really?" And then I get to episode 17 and it's revealed as Diane, and I go, "What? Really?"
Yeah, that was my reaction. It's just like, fucking really? Oh, and you can tell she's the good Diane because she's got colour in her hair.
Yeah, so like, why was her face different? Why was she in that other place? Why did she fall?
Yeah, why did Coop not seem to recognise her when he first met her as well?
Yeah.
When she like fell off the electric box.
Yeah. It's peculiar.
Yes.
Also, I don't know how I feel about this kind of like Dale Diane kind of relationship thing.
I didn't like it. I was just like, oh god, you fucking forgot about Annie quickly, didn't you?
Yeah. Now, I mean, reading lots of behind the scenes stuff, I mean, I'm obviously aware that Annie was kind of like a creation based on the fact that long story short, at the time, Donna's actress was dating Dale, and there was interference behind the scenes. So a lot of Annie's plot points were originally going to be Audrey plot points, which would have made more sense.
Oh, it would have, but yeah, is it Lara Flynn Boyle? She got like crazy jealous.
Yeah. So, but the confusing thing is that once they've kind of run with having the Annie character, was she even mentioned?
Nope. I don't
Not
think
once,
so.
I don't think.
She might have been mentioned when they were talking about Audrey. Like in the same hospital, maybe?
Yeah,
I
potentially.
don't know
Maybe the doctor, because he was saying that Audrey was in the coma. Maybe he also said Annie was in the ward or something, but
maybe
that would have been the only time.
Yeah, maybe they don't even... I'm going to actually look it up, because it's so strange that... I mean, she's not in it for long, but she's the reason he goes to the Black Lodge and is trapped there. Essentially, she's the reason why he goes in there.
Yeah.
He goes in there to save her from Wyndham Earl.
The only thing that the only thing that kind of makes it okay for me is that I read somewhere that someone thought maybe that she was constructed or manufactured to lure Dale into the Black Lodge.
I don't know.
Apparently, yeah. No, I'm not a fan of it either. But apparently, there are some inconsistencies between. Obviously, Annie was supposed to be related to Norma, and there are some inconsistencies in the secret history of Twin Peaks. Apparently, in regards to their families, so that Annie shouldn't technically be. If we're going by the secret history of Twin Peaks, that Annie would not be a relative of Norma. So people are saying that kind of reads into this, and that means that she's manufactured.
I think that's just lousy writing.
Yeah, that sounds to me like a very clever fan explaining something that they neglected to fill in.
Yeah, it's a fan trying to make an excuse for the show's shortcomings, which, just admit that they've made a mistake. That's what I do. Even my favourite things, it's in my favourite films, games, where I can always go, yeah, that's shit. Yeah. I go, no, actually, if you look into it, it's because of this. It's because of my own canon. Yeah, really weird, especially considering because she's in Fire Walk with Me as well. She appears to Laura, and I think actually that might be the only time she's mentioned in the show. That might be the only time she's
when
mentioned
they're reading the pages.
Yeah, that boiled down to fuck all. Actually, sorry, that boiled down to fuck all. Like most of the stuff happened at the sheriff's station, besides getting Nido. What was the? Yeah, but that's just me just venting and frustration. Frustration, I think, because fuck it, I'm just going to say it now. Episodes 17 and 18 felt like episodes from two different seasons. Yeah,
I'll give you that.
And my problem with that is that since it was announced, and they started filming, I remember them saying, just one-off deal, it's one-off shot. There might be a season 4, we're not sure, but it's just felt like the latter half of this season has been leading up to a second season. And I always hate that when TV shows do that if they're not even sure they're going to get a next season.
Yeah, I believe we were talking about it on our last proper cast. That's probably won't be released till way after this, but we were talking about shows that try to get their hooks in for a second season when there's clearly no chance of it happening, like with Helix on Sci-Fi.
Yes, because it's going.
Yeah, and the Mist as well has recently done the exact same thing. The viewing numbers are just not high enough, I think, for it to get renewed, and it may get renewed.
It might do. I mean, that's not to say that that you can't plan for things, but it should never. You should never. I'm trying to think of it's the same with like video games as well. I remember there was really infamously it was Silicon Knights, I think it was, that made that sci-fi Norse mythology game,
Too Human? Yeah.
And they're like, it's going to be the first part of an epic trilogy. And it did so poorly that they never even made 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So you've got a game that's setting up 2 more games that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's all right to add things and, put in little hints that there could be something more. But when you it feels more like your TV show is leading up to something that you're never going to see. That can be more frustrating than anything. And I know it's Twin Peaks, but let's not forget that the only reason it ended like it did, because I've seen people go, yeah, well, the original series ended on a cliffhanger, and it only ended like that because it got cancelled.
Yeah,
that wasn't a creative decision. They did that, and then it got cancelled.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, really, really strange. In a sense that it just feels like this is leading on to something more. But we're probably not going to see it.
Well, I mean, we live in a world, thankfully, of endless possibility. Where until maybe 3 or 4 years ago, people were saying we wouldn't get a season 3. So,
no.
I mean, it could happen. I'm not sure if it will happen. Much like you, I think, apparently, although it's been a success for Showtime, who commissioned the series in terms of sign-ups for their service, it remains to be seen how many people will continue to be signed up for their service once Twin Peaks finishes. And I imagine they'd probably see a drop-off. And not only that, but apparently the viewing figures are not, amazing. No. I didn't actually read any concrete numbers, but I've heard people saying that apparently, the ratings are not... Apparently, there might be good ratings for Showtime, but they're not very good ratings in regards to other things, obviously.
Well,
say, Game of Thrones or even Walking Dead. So I think that's just because Twin Peaks has less kind of, broad appeal. It's more kind of like a niche thing.
And also, it's 25 years since the original series,
Exactly,
There's going to be people like, oh, Twin Peaks is coming back. There's people I know going, the fuck is that? I don't know what that is. What's shit?
Yeah, especially with Facebook, because, I mean, Game of Thrones has been absolutely everywhere. And, once an episode's come out, I'd see, maybe 20 people put statuses up about it. I've been the only person talking about Twin Peaks, apart from you.
Yeah, I've seen it. Because I know a few people from, the festival.
Yeah, well, you're in that community, aren't you? So, yeah, it makes more sense, but even then,
not as much as you'd think.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the time it's people going, that's right. Or as when it all finished, as my aunt put it, she went, spoilers for Twin Peaks. At least we had episode 8.
Yes, I saw her post. She had lots of dots and question marks, didn't she?
It's like, at least we had episode 8. And episode 8 is still going to go down as probably the best one in the series.
My favourite, it will do.
Incredible.
My favourite comment on that thread was someone had posted underneath, it would have made more sense if you didn't include that last sentence. It was just the question marks and dots.
Yes, it would actually.
Gold star to that man. Well done. Good comment.
5 stars. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Best game. Best
comment. Wait. Yes, so Nido transforms into Diane, and then you asked me about this romance.
Yeah.
I don't. It felt very forced. I was like, I never felt that. That's what I think made the revelation that I assume she was either a copy or a doppelganger of Diane made, because she had all the memories of the real Diane.
Yeah, we posited that when the tulpa of Diane was made, that perhaps the real Diane had been killed. However, presumably, because we get the sense that she's supposed to be the real Diane, that perhaps, that she didn't die. She was just kind of changed and put somewhere else.
Yes, they changed her into a shorter Asian woman with no eyes.
Yes, and banished her to that little kind of spaceship thing, tiny little spaceship in space with the with the giant Major Briggs head flying past.
I mean, that's a safe place to put her with I presume Judy banging on the door outside, and then her getting electrocuted, and I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I did see someone, and this is getting into episode 18, but I did see someone say that the events of episode 18 kind of like a parallel to Diane's story in The Return. So basically that she was with Mr. C and it wasn't right, and then, she was quote unquote sexually assaulted. So people were saying that kind of like lines up with what happens in episode 18 in terms of like they have a sexual encounter, and it doesn't, she kind of puts her hands over his face. She says it's not like, you can tell something's visibly quite off.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because of the obviously the revelation of the names. I think maybe he started to look different to her. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but some people were saying that that could well be like how the tulpa was made, or when the tulpa was made. So like the kind of like the memories are kind of similar.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can, like, anything you say could be a good theory because there's so much scope.
Exactly. You just go, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
But just I was thinking about it a few weeks ago as well. I'm still not sure if I'm really okay with them introducing Diane as a pivotal character and have her been so important as well. All she was in the original show was literally someone that she was basically a receptionist.
Yeah, and this is a good point.
Messages for.
Because this is getting back to the relationship thing. This is the thing I remember. When Dale is shot at the end of season 1, I remember him on his tapes saying something along the lines of, there are a few things I regret, Diane. One of them is I've never really properly loved like a woman, a proper love. So I was thinking, so that maybe there was a thing between them, but it wasn't that big. If unless he's a really callous bastard, he records a tape saying, "Diane, my one regret is that I never loved a proper woman." It's like, what about me?
She's like, wait, what the hell, man?
And that just doesn't align with Dale's earplugs, with his kind of his character. So it's very strange.
I just thought she's a colleague.
Yeah,
he works with her.
At the most, maybe like a kind of like a flirtatious thing or something. But
yeah,
it's it does seem strange that it is the kind of the crux of the whole thing.
Yeah, especially when it's like, kiss me up. What?
Yeah,
they kiss like in the sheriff's room. Like, this is
it's awkward. Weird. Not to mention this. This is the other thing I wanted to ask you about. This is the point where Dale's face becomes superimposed over the entire scene.
Yes.
Now I feel I think it's really cool for a number of reasons. The first thing that it did for me was it instantly made my stomach drop. I was kind of like, oh shit, something is wrong here. And I really liked that because obviously we're literally kind of like being shown a tableau of all our favourite characters at the end, happy, triumphant. And yet there's, that's already the first spanner in the works. You know what I mean?
He hears, we live inside a dream.
Yeah.
And that's when then you get the superimposed face, which does eventually disappear. Thank fuck. But
and I love how the face stays for ages and then says like one sentence, and then like in line was the sentence in line with the actual Dale as well? I can't remember. Like both of them said it at once.
Yeah, it might have been.
Something is again. It's something I need to go back and watch, but yeah, it was really cool because it just kind of it highlighted to me not the artifice, but the kind of the fact that because and we'll get into this, but I feel like David Lynch and Mark Frost have used this season specifically to kind of address Twin Peaks as a kind of like an entity, and not just, I don't mean like an entity like Silent Hill is an entity. I mean like the show Twin Peaks exists, and they're kind of like breaking down what we expect from the show.
Yeah.
I feel very much it's kind of like a return, but at the same time it is 25 years later and things have changed.
Yeah.
So I feel, it was just kind of another notch of it's like Dale is watching this. It's like it's not real. It's like there's kind of like a facade or a kind of a facsimile of reality here, but it's not quite right.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. It's more, again, with these two episodes, especially 18, to me, it was more about what I felt while I was watching it, not necessarily what was actually happening, if that makes sense. I feel like my favorite thing about this 2-hour finale is the things that I felt, not necessarily the things that I was processing, if that makes sense. Like I was watching for plot, like, oh, this happens, person speaks to person, etc. It was more like I'm getting a general kind of feeling from what I'm seeing, and that was, to be honest, and I'm not going to throw sunshine up his ass because there are plenty of people who already do that.
Yes.
But it's very, very rare that I watch TV and I feel something. And you know, obviously you watch things and you have favorite characters and you're like, yes, the characters did well, or oh shit, my favorite character died. I can understand those feelings, but this was more kind of like it was more like it was different. It felt like on a deeper kind of level to me.
I can see that.
Yeah, especially when we'll get into 18 and I'll kind of like get into it there, but it felt kind of more meditative, like you know, like I was kind of like these feelings were washing over me a bit, and I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a wrap up, you know.
I think a lot of people. I mean, again, I wasn't, because it's Twin Peaks. I never expected them to explain everything, but I was expecting some. I don't know. I was expecting a bit more. I think is the problem. Especially when they tie up the whole stuff, Mr. C, and a few other things, but there's so much that is shown throughout the season and just dropped it completely with like no mention. One of which is Orgy, which we'll get to. I just think it's better to talk about once we finish 18 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about all of them actually. Yeah, very, very well. I mean, it's memorable. That's the best thing I can say, is that it is definitely memorable. Even if I didn't like parts of 18, it's definitely memorable.
I feel like 18 redeemed itself for me in the last few minutes of it. I felt like there was a long period in the middle where I felt like, what am I doing with my life? What am I watching?
I was thinking, like, where is this going?
Yeah, and it's just...
Get on with it.
It's going on, and it's just like, you know, you think it's reaching a point and then it carries on again. And I think, again, that is going back to the kind of like the metatextual breaking down of Twin Peaks. I feel like that's what they were doing in that regard. They were kind of like extenuating it far beyond what you thought was going to happen. And that was kind of like a... You know, perhaps a comment on having to continue the story and continuing stories and revisiting things, you know, and prolonging them past their original kind of scope. I don't know. Everything can be, you know, sort of like a 2,000-word essay, I guess. So let's not go into that. So anyway, let's wrap up episode 17, yes. Because it all starts to go a bit Prisoner of Azkaban. That was the one overriding thing I was thinking while I was watching it. So Cooper tells everyone that he hopes he sees them again very soon, and I really hoped that, well, I continue to hope that perhaps will be the case, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen to the Cooper that we follow.
No.
I guess the plot synopsis says that in a room in the Great Northern. Now, was that the basement? Was that where that furnace was?
Yeah, that's where that's the room that James heard sounds coming from.
That's it. Yeah. He uses his key that he got from the sheriff to open that door. He calls Diane and then Cole, sort of like to come with him. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I was just like, well, why is Cole there?
Well, I feel like Cole is... I think like Cole's taking the piss a bit, to be honest. Yeah. He's kind of been on the fringes of all this shit, but he's always sent the other people in, and they've kind of, you know, what I lovingly refer to as get Philip Jeffries'd. Like, they just become lost in time people who show up and then don't show up and, become tea kettles and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I was saying, then transform into kettles.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why anyone fucking works for him, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and God knows why anyone joins the task force. Especially, you got to be like Tammy levels of robot
Stupid.
to agree to
Yeah,
that.
you got to be a robot. This does not bother me. I am a robot. I have no soul. That's why she's not scared. Oh, that makes sense.
And she's genuinely excited she's seen the Tulpa. It's like, don't you understand? We lost Chet Desmond this way. Now we've lost Dale Cooper this way.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, that's fine. Yeah, Tammy, go ahead. You're fine.
Yeah. Go on, Tammy, you go in there first.
Yeah. But, and I can't believe we didn't mention that awesome line at the beginning as well, which was kind of a dick joke, where Albert says, you're going soft, and he says, not where it matters, buddy.
And then he shoots a glance at Tammy, and she kind of smiles. I'm like,
ugh. Yeah, it's like,
fuck off.
It's another Bonica Bellucci dream.
Yeah, you're getting creepy, David, in the worst possible way. Stop it. I do not want to think about.
I kind of can't blame him though. Like,
I don't.
Like, if you're that old and you're on TV and you're producing like amazing TV,
I get all the girls.
French ones, the dream ones. So anyway, getting back to it, Cole manages to kind of stay on the periphery of this stuff and not get completely obliterated and Philip Jeffries'd.
Lucky bastard.
Yeah, and so Cooper travels through, and he essentially, first off, before he revisits all of the stuff that's already kind of happened before in part, was it either 1 or 2? We get to see Mike, and Mike is speaking normally, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, he was still speaking weird.
He was speaking a bit weird, but he was speaking forwards. It wasn't like backwards, then recorded backwards and reversed to be normal. It was actually normal. And I found that interesting because the one thing it said to me was that Coop has passed over. He is now like a being that kind of understands the backwards rather than... Although he then proceeds to walk through the Red Room and see Leland, etc. And I believe they were still talking backwards.
Yes.
So, who knows? That would be too logical, wouldn't it?
It would be. I'd bring logic into this. Flip my desk.
But that was pretty much... It was essentially a revisit of things he'd already done and seen before. The arm said that... is it the story about the little girl that lives down the lane or something to that effect? Now, I've seen many people posit that this means Laura. The story essentially is about Laura and the ramifications of her kind of like death. I've heard other people say, is it about Audrey? And that it's all a dream in Audrey's head because, obviously she broke out of that dream at the end of episode 16. Again, yes. I'm not sure. I feel like perhaps it's more about Laura, seeing as he then proceeds to try and save Laura. Yeah.
See, this is where
Go ahead.
This is the thing. There were parts of what happened right at the end here that I liked, and there are other parts I didn't. I don't like it when shows do something like this, when all of a sudden they pull time travel out of their ass and just go, he changes the thing that happens, the main thing of the whole show.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like it when you do that. And also, the implication is horrible. It's a really selfish thing to do because, if I may explain.
Sure.
So he's transported back to the events right near the end of Fire Walk with Me, and we see Laura having a conversation with James, and then when she runs into she gets off the bike, just like he explains to the sheriff in the show as well. When she gets off and she tells him she loves him and she runs off.
Yeah, I'll tell you where they saved some of that huge budget he demanded from Showtime. That's reusing Fire Walk with Me footage.
All the fucking time. For some reason this is in black and white, but then it becomes aware why later on.
Yeah.
And obviously in the film she leaves, she regains her composure and she meets up with Leo. and one of the Trimons. I think it was one of the Trimons.
Is it one of the Renaults?
Renault, sorry, not Trimon.
Yeah.
That's their woman. Renault, yeah. Was it Jacques?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big fat guy. Meets up with those two and Renette Pulaski. But in this, rather terrifyingly, Cooper is just standing in front of her in the middle of the woods. And she can see him. She says she recognises him from a dream. He holds his hand out, and then the Laura Palmer theme plays, and I thought it was a really good moment. I thought what they were going to do is he's going to try and save her, and she's just going to go, nah. Because she's all, at that point, I thought she got to the stage where she just accepted what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Basically, she knew she was fucked. Then she takes his hand, and it bleeds. Color bleeds in. I was like, that's cool. And then,
I'll just give you a second to get your rant ready. I will just say I did like the effects here.
Yeah.
I think part of it might have been digital manipulation. I think also maybe some of it was they just caked her up in loads of makeup so she looked younger.
Or they may have got someone who looked similar. I don't know.
Yeah. It was hard to tell, but the fact that it was hard to tell means that it was kind of a good effect because I couldn't tell it was obviously fake. So
yeah,
I will just say I did like the effects there.
It's probably another reason why they chose that scene from the film because it was already dark.
Nice.
It's easier to hide the effects that way.
Yeah.
But then what happens is we go back. We see her body. We go back all the way back when to the pilot, and we see her body on the shore. Wash up, and then static and disappear.
Yeah.
And I hate it when they do this in shows, especially when it's stuff I like, or films I like. They go, see, they stop the bad thing from happening. I'm like, yeah, but the bad thing from happening is what drove the story initially. And also, yeah, you saved her, but that means that Bob's never caught.
Yeah, also,
And he
the
can
potential
continue
question
to murder people.
Has it now undone the very reality we've just spent?
Yeah, or is it
16 hours
exactly?
in?
Or is it another reality altogether? But still, like, even then, I was thinking, yeah, but it still means that she's not murdered by Bob Leland, Leland control. Bob controlled Leland. Yeah, Bob controlled him. Yeah, fucking, I'm getting the wrong way around. Obviously, Bob kills her. But this means that she isn't killed by Bob, which to me would mean that Dale Cooper is never sent to Twin Peaks because he wouldn't be. And that means that Bob can just continue to kill people.
Yeah.
Yay!
And I saw people kind of talk about this. Some people, I mean, it's getting into episode 18, but at the point where we were on the cusp anyway, I saw some people explaining that perhaps the reason why Dale and Diane are a couple is because perhaps that if Dale hadn't been called away, he would have perhaps had a relationship with her. So when it jumps forward 25 years, they're in a relationship because, that's what would have happened. But not one person but you mentioned, yeah, but that means that, Bob/Leland is still at large.
Yeah, it's like, yay, oh, cool, right, I can just go and kill people, because previously he wasn't killing people from the town.
Yeah.
He was doing it in motels, like God knows where.
Yeah.
So this gives that terrifying nutcase just free range. Just go and do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
And that means all, because the whole murder changes a lot of people in the town. So that means all those people it's just going to stay the same.
Yeah,
most likely.
Like Bobby Briggs.
Yeah, Bobby Briggs isn't going to grow much. I don't know. I really don't know how I felt about it. It felt.
Yeah.
It got to a point I was like, this feels like fan fiction.
Yeah, and I think when time travel comes into it, a lot of things, that's when fan fiction happens. I mean, it's one of the main criticisms leveled at the Harry Potter, the cursed child. I don't know if you know that, but they get time turners, and the time turners don't even work the way that they do in the original series. So they break the rules of that just to do this kind of what if scenarios and multiple universe kind of bullshit. Now, I think if you start out with multiple universes, okay, like your creative property, say for instance, the Dark Tower. The Dark Tower very clearly in the first book says there are more worlds, right? If you do that, okay, fine, that's good. But like, if you do your whole original series and then the crux of the plot means that you travel into different branches of reality, it seems a bit convoluted.
Exactly, because I remember originally the time medallions they had in Harry Potter, like they didn't realise is that even when you use them, you're still going to carry out things that have already happened.
Yes, and that's I think
that's a really cool idea.
Probably
it messes with your head.
Yeah, it's probably my favourite example of time travel used in fiction because it all makes logical sense.
Because even then, it's still fucking linear.
Exactly, it happened. It happened one way once, but we see it from two different perspectives. And even this doesn't do that. I mean, because I was saying I got Prisoner of Azkaban vibes. That's mainly just because he was in the woods, kind of like hanging out, like going, "You over here."
Hey, this isn't creepy at all.
But I think
come with me.
I think it's fair to say that what they're trying to imply by her taking his hand and her walking her off, as you said, that it was in black and white. They've used black and white, at least as far as we can tell in this season, to denote when something is happening in the past. Yes. And the fact that it then becomes colour implies that we are now in the present. So in doing that, it seems to imply that he has entered a new branch of reality where he has saved Laura Palmer. Yeah. And that's why it changes to colour. But the problem is the ramifications of this that are not dealt with, obviously. So there are things like you say, Bob Leland is still at large. Whether the awesome universe where everyone that we've just grown to love over the past 16 hours is gone, or whether that universe exists as well, in which case what is the point of saving Laura Palmer if you can't save her in every universe?
Yeah, so why even bother trying?
Exactly. It's a bit weird, isn't it? And I was just going to say, sorry. Yeah. In episode 18, one of the first things we get is Mike creating the new kind of tulpa of Dougie Jones and him returning home to that family and presumably living out the rest of the days having a nice time. So that branch of reality clearly must still exist if that's going to happen. Otherwise, what is the point as well?
Yeah, it's the point of showing this. I don't, and again, they did it a lot in this series. I don't think we had to see Mike doing that. We knew he was going to do it.
I know. If anything, it was just nice because it was an actual thing happening that was logical and explainable.
Hey, look, we actually tied something up.
Electricity.
Yeah, I mean, I get that Dale he's a good guy and he wants to save people, but why? What makes her so? I mean, I know that this whole thing is she's the one, but what she's the one to be horribly raped and murdered by her own father?
I mean,
what makes her worth serving and not the others?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw in episode 8 that she is clearly kind of a rebuttal to evil being born into the world. And in saving her, like, it's not like she's going to go on to defeat evil or something. Like,
she's going to be like the Matrix.
Yeah,
it's going to train her. She's going to kung fu fight. She's going to kung fu fight with Judy.
I know kung fu.
Badass. She'll just scream.
Because what we see is that we're just getting into episode 18, so we may as well just leap into episode 18.
Fuck it.
Yeah, so
this both lead into
episode 18 begins with Cooper's doppelganger who burns in the red room. So presumably he's in the Noid chair, literally, at the moment.
Bad doppelganger. You're not supposed to leave.
Yeah. We talked about Mike creating the thing. Cooper appears in the red room again. This is part of what we talked about as well. He meets Mike, the arm. He meets Leland again, for instance. He exits the red room and meets Diane at Glastonbury Grove. It seemed to imply that this means he comes out the night that he went into the Red Room or the Black Lodge, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And he's now having fixed what happened, I guess maybe like 6 months prior, he emerges with Diane, which would kind of imply that perhaps Diane is, Annie was a tulpa and Diane was trapped, or who fuck knows? I don't know.
Who cares anymore?
Yes, it's like a stream of consciousness at this point.
we did miss out one thing. When he's trying to rescue Laura, she's whisked away by something, which presumably Judy.
Yes,
because we hear something.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing a pretty shit job of getting her to where she needed to go.
He kept
I'm
looking back every 5 seconds as well. Bless him.
I'm protecting you, so just you fuck off over there. I would be like having both my arms on her, like, okay, we're going to the White Lodge. Come with me if you want to live. Come if you want to live. Before she gets kidnapped by the T-1000. But I presume she's whisked away by Judy because okay, something happened right then, which we missed just because so much fucking happened. Really, it was the final shot of the episode. Actually, it was it genuinely creeped me out. Which was, we go back to the Palmer house.
Mm-hmm.
It's a static shot we've had many times.
Oh yes, of course.
And you can just hear Sarah screaming, but it's a really almost inhuman scream most of the time.
Yeah,
it's really unsettling because it sounds like it's coming from all over the house.
Yeah.
And then she runs in, grabs the prom photo and just starts fucking smashing it with an empty bottle while screaming. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
So I presume, I would assume that we were correct in saying that she was possessed by Judy.
Yeah, that's what I've read and what seems to make sense. And it's worth noting that although she is stabbing at a piece of paper with, a broken wine bottle, she doesn't seem to damage the picture at all.
No.
Which is something someone mentioned, which I thought was kind of nifty because she's angry at Laura because she can't get Laura.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, it might also have been her that kind of, like you said, pulls her away from Coop and throws her into what is presumably another dimension or branch of reality.
What was it they call it in Marvel? It's just different Earth. So Earth 616. Because we've gone to Marvel levels of insanity with different universes now, apparently.
Yeah. At least 3 discernible universes now.
But yes, anyway. So sorry, I just.
And the other thing we didn't mention is that we saw the beginnings of the morning that her body would have been found if she had been killed, and she wasn't there. So it was clearly kind of like underlining the fact that it had been avoided, at least in one kind of reality.
And Pete gets to go fishing.
Yeah.
Also, one little detail that I just remembered that I really liked was when the doppelganger was sat in the chair on fire.
Yeah.
Did you notice how his eyes eventually turned black to being white again? Because obviously all the doppelgangers had white eyes essentially, didn't they?
Yes.
Or a very, very faint irises. And I really liked that because all the doppelgangers in the Black Lodge have eyes like that. So he's back. So now he's back to being a doppelganger.
He's kind
again.
of he's empty again.
Yeah. I liked that.
Yeah. Which again, maybe that kind of like lends credence to the idea that Bob never fully left him. Because maybe it was him, or maybe it was the fact that they were just inside a proper body that made the eyes go like that. But yeah, it's a good point worth mentioning. Okay, so as I said, he kind of exits Glastonbury Grove with Diane, and they then travel the 430 miles to. I don't know where that would put them on the map in terms of the US, but it looked like a kind of a deserty area with all the electricity pylons. Oh wait,
yes.
have we skipped over? Have we skipped over Philip Jeffries?
No, that was
is that after?
That was in the first. That was in 17. That was he's the one that tells. He speaks to Cooper about Judy.
Yeah,
because then he shows him like that infinity symbol.
Yeah, he shows him the alkane symbol, which becomes an 8, which becomes an infinity symbol.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting, and I'm not sure exactly what it means, but
that's like most of the series. What does it mean?
I will say, as the owl cave symbol was transforming, the first thing it looked like before it became an 8 to me, it looked almost like that little symbol of the kind of the bug head thing, like on Mr. C's card.
Yes.
When they were traveling the 430 miles and there were all those electricity pylons, some of the tops of those pylons looked like that symbol as well. But at that point, it might just be grasping for meaning.
That's all we can do, really.
That thing looks like that thing. It must mean something.
It's got to mean something. My brain. I'm going to play Deadly Premonition. It makes more sense somehow.
Yeah, I need to finish that.
What? It's good.
Yeah. I've the only thing my brother said to me, he said, I won't spoil it for you, but it goes a bit DBZ, like as in Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, really? Okay.
It does go a bit weird,
and that makes more sense than this.
But at the same time, they do explain why he's like you see monsters and stuff. They do explain it, and it makes sense. It's good. I liked it, but there is still weird shit. You fight the boss you fight at the end is just. What?
Maybe not next time, but the time after, I'll pick it for the cast because that would be good. It'd give me an excuse to finish it.
Oh please! There's so much I could talk about.
Cool.
Like the map alone. The actual town map.
I've explored the map quite a lot because, annoyingly, because it's on kind of like a day-night cycle thing, and because the time I played it, I was well into achievements. I started doing a lot of the side quest shit. Which is why I didn't get very far in the plot, so that's why I don't know much about what happens in terms of the ending and stuff. I was too busy kind of like trying to collect... Was it cards? Like you can find cards? Yes. So, yeah, I was trying to find that shit and going around and doing side quest stuff.
Well, if you zoom the... I forget off the top of it. Because you can't actually fully zoom the map out in the game, so someone obviously got the code, and on the PC version... just got the JPEG or the PNG file, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And when zoomed out, the town actually, the outline of the town is a dog.
Oh, that's so cool.
Which actually ties in to a character in the game.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, it makes sense! On
so many levels. That's cool.
Yeah, it is basically Twin Peaks the game.
Yeah.
But but because basically it's like, what would happen if Twin Peaks was an anime? We would have Dragon Ball Z fights at the end with giant slug monsters.
Nice.
That may or may not be there. I don't know. I can't remember. It's fucking weird. But I love the game anyway because It's
I think I will pick it for the podcast at some point.
Do it.
We are getting so sidetracked.
It's confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. So anyway,
they drive for fucking ever.
They decide. Diane says to Dale, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because it may be all different on the other side." He then tells her to kiss him. They kiss for a long time. I mean, if you don't like shots of driving, second bet, maybe you like shots of Carl McLachlan and what's her name?
Laura Dern.
Yeah, Laura Dern kissing a lot. There was quite a lot of that in this finale as well.
Yeah, I think David Lynch has a thing for those two getting it on. I mean, they did it in Blue Velvet as well, so
yeah.
Really, they look so much younger in it. Of course they do. That was a long time ago, Matt. That was before you were born. Yeah, they drive for like half the episode.
Yeah. So yeah, they drive to this kind of threshold. They're talking about being 430 miles away, which is something that was one of the very first things that was said in the new season, along with Richard and Linda, and Two Birds with One Stone.
Two Birds with One Stone. 430.
Yeah, which is the number of miles.
Yep. Good thing you drove in the right direction.
Yeah. Anyway, they pass through into this other reality, which some people were positing is if they came out roughly at the time in, I guess it was 1991 or whatever, when the series ended. If they came out at that time and then drove, they've now skipped the 25 years again into the future. Presumably, based on Carrie Page, aka Laura Palmer's kind of age. So it seems to imply that they've jumped ahead into another universe that roughly the same amount of time has passed.
Another dimension.
Yep. They travel to a motel. And then proceed to have a really, really awkward sex scene for about, I guess, like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is your big finale, guys.
Yeah.
It's Laura Dern's O-Face. It's what I've always wanted to see in a finale of a TV show.
Yeah, and there was there was a song as well, and
yeah,
it was kind of interesting the fact that she put her hands over his face, because he did seem kind of like
very much like Mr. C at that point.
Yeah, and some people saying that kind of parallel between the Tulpa's kind of version of events and this, there are kind of parallels at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was because of what happens afterwards. Because obviously she, I mean, if you don't mind me just...
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so we have the really awkward, emotionless sex scene, which was delightful. 'Cause, that's what I wanted to see was, Laura Dern and Carl McLachlan grinding on each other, with Carl McLachlan just sitting there looking like he'd rather be anywhere else for some bloody reason. It was really weird. But he awakens the next day, asking for Diane, and then finds a note addressed to Richard from Linda, which obviously then goes back to the names that we were told at the beginning of the series. Yeah. So I think that maybe because they're different people now potentially.
Yeah.
Because Cooper starts to act very weird towards the end of the episode anyway, so I think maybe it affected her first, or maybe she started to see him as Richard, and it was freaking her out a bit.
Yeah.
Because she did see...
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning she saw a version of herself as well.
Which was really creepy.
Yeah.
That was really creepy. But, yeah, so... He takes it rather well. Oh, she's gone. Okay, I'd better go on with
another thing
stuff.
I saw mentioned, which I haven't been able to confirm by rewatching. Someone said that apparently the car that he drove up in is in a different spot and is a different kind of car. Now,
yeah, it is.
It is. Is that true?
It certainly is.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I don't know what that means.
Well, I think he drives... I'm sure he was driving Mr. C's truck initially, and then he comes out of the motel, and then he's got... It's a regular 4-door car.
Yeah.
And it's got an electronic lock.
Yeah.
Because he beeps it open. There's other people who also said, like, because the double of Diane is that even Coop that comes back out of the motel. Because we see him go in, but you can't see him.
Yeah.
Which could, but more driving. As he approaches Judy's, which obviously sets him off.
Yeah, it's a bit on the nose, that one, isn't it?
And then there is a little bit more comedy here, but I noticed that he starts to act like an amalgamation of Coop, Mr. C, and brain dead Dougie Coop.
Yeah. Now, see, the thing I thought, the prediction I made last time, was that I felt like Mr. C and Dale were going to have to kind of come together to become a full person. And this was kind of the sense I got from these scenes, is that it was kind of like the plucky kind of like happy-go-lucky Dale that we'd kind of seen in the original season was kind of like one half of his character, and Mr. C obviously was another half, and that we're seeing a kind of like a weird mixture of the two that is kind of, all about kind of solving the mystery and being just, but at the same time we'll shoot a guy in the foot and put the guns in the fryer.
Yeah, that was real. Fryer, this is a good place to put them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's hard enough to set the birds off. You might want to move away. Thanks, pal. Thank you, Mr. FBI, you dick.
Yeah. And he almost he's essentially kind of threatening the waitress as well. He's very intimidating.
Yeah. He's not Al Cooper anymore. We got Al Cooper for about how many minutes? Maybe about an hour in total, because he was in the first few episodes, wasn't he, where he was just walking around the lodge.
Yeah.
And he wasn't brain dead yet. And then we got somewhat of normal Coop. We got him a little bit,
Hooray.
Well, now he's back to being weird again. Yeah, so again, I'm sat here thinking, okay, well, this is the finale. What are you doing? What is your What are you doing here? More driving.
Yes.
He gets that's it. He gets the address of the other waitress.
It's kind of strange how he knows all this as well.
Yeah, I was like, please don't do what I think they're going to do, and they did it. An excuse to get Shirley on camera, which is fine. He drives to her address, and we see the pylon with the number 6 on it, which we saw way back on. When did we actually see that?
We've seen it a couple of times, and Andy saw it 3 times, so this might well have been the third time.
And he knocks on the door, and Cheryl Lee answers the door. Yay, Cheryl Lee's in it, but she's not Laura Palmer. She's Kara Page. Yeah, a better Southern accent than David Bowie's. We're not going to talk about Judy at all. Like, why is he Southern? What is this? Just let him be David Bowie. It'd be great. We're not going to talk about Judy. Sorry, I'm losing my mind a bit.
It's okay.
He seems to think that she would recognise him. Doesn't his disposition like, you're Laura? Like, she's like, the fuck you talking about?
I did find there was one line in there that was really sincere, and I was kind of like, it's where he goes, I think you're a girl called Laura Palmer, and it's kind of hard to explain. And I'm like, yeah, no shit.
But we introduced time travel and interdimensional stuff, so he ends up, because first of all she answers, she's like, oh, did you find him? What the fuck are you talking about? And he says this, blah 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 blah, and she gets a bit freaked out, and then he's like, look, just come with me, I can explain it. See, he basically does just hand wave and go, look, it's weird, just come, we'll just come to Twin Peaks with me. It will explain it all. We won't. We'll explain it all. It's fine. She's like, okay, I need to leave anyway.
Yeah, as it occurs.
And then he walks in and there's a dead body.
Yep.
With a gunshot wound and a rifle on the ground. And then, I don't know if you spotted, when he stood there, he sees a little white horse figurine.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Mantelpiece. I was like, it's a little callback. That's nice. And yeah, because if it feels like we're going through this really quickly, it's because really in the finale, not a lot happens.
That's true.
So he literally, she gets the stuff. Do you think I'll need a coat? Yeah, you need a coat. Yeah, I ain't got any food. I'll get you food. It's fine. More driving.
Yeah, more and more driving.
Oh shit! There's some lights behind us. They both look at them and be like, oh, someone's following them, and they're like, oh. She's like, is that car following us? Like, oh, this is a bit weird. Oh wait, it's overtaken them. It wasn't. Okay.
Yeah, this was probably my sleepiest period. Was at this point.
Oh, listen, I wasn't even tired. I'm sat there watching this. First time it's really. It happened a couple episodes this season, just with like the really slow ones. Sat there with just resting my chin on my face, just resting my face on my hand. Like, come on, please. It's the finale. Can you just speed it up a bit? More driving. They stop off at a gas station. I'm like, cool. It's a good scene. More driving. Oh, fuck me. More driving. Oh, call the double R diner way. Oh, no one there. Cool. Well, There's no vehicles in Twin Peaks. It's a bit weird. Call the Palmer house. She doesn't recognise it. All right. He's still acting very weird at this point.
Yeah.
And then, see, I had to look this up because some people were picked up, but so he knocks on the door, and everyone's expecting, oh shit, oh no, fucking Sarah's gonna be there, and she's like gonna be like, monster, scary face.
Yeah.
And it's not.
No. Apparently, that is actually the lady who lives at that real house in real life.
Oh really?
Yeah,
that's really cool.
What someone said that on the Reddit, and apparently it's true.
If that's true, that's awesome because she's probably had to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
Hey, do the Palmers live here?
No.
They've never lived here. Fuck you. Fuck off, you weird people. You are weird. You are weird, go away. the names mentioned. I looked this up because I was like, there must be something I'm missing. What was her name? It was
Tremond.
That was where do I know the name? I know the name. Tremond. I think it was the name of the old woman.
Yeah, maybe.
I think who gives Laura the painting, which is incidentally a portal to the other world. That's great. Thank you, you old bag. Yes, Mrs. Tremond. Yes, she was the old lady. Also known as Mrs. Chalfont.
Yes.
And those are the two names mentioned. I can't remember which way around it was, but
I think the lady is the Tremonts, and the people who owned it before were the Chalfonts.
The Chalfonts. So at first I was like, that's weird. And then I looked up, I was like, that's a weird little, interesting little tidbit. So Dale is beyond confused at this point.
Yeah, don't blame him.
He's like, I don't, what's going on? So he walks out. He starts out more like brain dead Coop at this point. He's kind of just stumbling around, and then very worryingly just looks confused. He's acting weird at this point, like stuff he's doing with his hands. And then just was, what year is this?
Yeah, this is where it started. Like, this is where I started to get like shivers because
I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
So, he's really first thought was he's really fucked up. Oh shit, what's he done? And unfortunately, I didn't hear this. Apparently, so he's looking all confused.
Yeah.
Carrie looks up at the house. Apparently, you can hear Sarah calling for Laura.
Yes.
I didn't fucking hear that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that definitely happens. I heard it.
Because that would have really given me shivers. But she starts to scream, and then a moment I thought was unbearably unsettling.
I'm getting shivers up my spine just thinking about it now. I need to watch it again, if not the whole thing, just that last kind of few minutes, because
that just emphasises that there's something in the house.
Yeah, it's
like
it could mean so many things, but like I was saying, I was so tired when I was watching this. I was battling to stay awake, especially through the driving stuff. So when they turned up to the house, I was like, kind of like, that thing where you're like, no, I need to stay awake. I kind of pushed my eyes open. And so I kind of got, all I seemed to be picking up on was like feelings and kind of atmosphere. And when she screamed and then those lights went out, man, it was like, I don't know, it was like something just deep inside, kind of like, I was saying like the pit of my stomach just kind of dropped when I saw Dale's face superimposed over the thing. It's kind of that, but worse. It was just kind of like, oh no.
Yeah, you're like, something's wrong.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't think I'll ever know what it means, but what I felt was really intense. And I think partially, just pure dread. Because, it doesn't matter what it is, something's not right. Now, I've seen some people kind of paint this thing as like a good ending, like a happy ending almost. Yeah. So
fuck you. Yes, because her screaming in terror as something really weird happens to the house. It's a good ending.
Well, I've seen some people say that it's kind of a victory in that, well, I'll get onto those theories in a second. But to me, and this kind of like, because we're basically summing up what we felt about the episode now, right? Yeah, we're more or less at the end. So the way it felt to me, especially these long shots of driving and the people, like driving in car, he was consistently trying to kind of like get to the bottom of the case, as it were, which is kind of like, Dale's MO, modus operandi. It felt like someone kind of like dragging something out, like trying to claw their way to something like well after the fact. The way I kind of describe it in my head is like, when you're in a dream, you're asleep, and you're in a, you're in a dream, and you're having this dream, and then you wake up, say in the middle of the night or whatever, and you're about to go back to sleep, and you kind of like knowing you know what the dream you just had was about, and you know that you're kind of like going to continue the dream when you go back to sleep. So you kind of like enter back into the dream to finish it, but you never finish it. So it's like you kind of like, it's hard to explain because it is dream logic, but
yeah, your dream never, you know, there's never really, I don't think I've ever had a dream where I've actually resolved anything.
Yeah, you're just constantly kind of clawing your way towards something that you're never going to reach. And it felt to me...
something always waysides you.
Yeah, it's almost kind of... It's kind of Jacob's Ladder-esque in that Dale, at this point, he's fighting past becoming Jeffreys and being lost in time. He's still trying to solve the puzzle, kind of like how, you know, Jacob fights against the fact that he's dying by clinging on to this, like, dying dream. And so the kind of, like, you know, passing through realities, you know, reality within a reality within a reality, trying to get to her. And the fact that he can't, and it ends with this horrific kind of dread. It's just it's like the last moments of a dream that someone just can't complete. That's the kind of the sense the feeling I got.
I think that's the whole emphasis of the show, isn't it? You know, the whole season of we live inside a dream.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, David Lynch is renowned for his kind of like approach to using dream logic and dream imagery and things like that have appeared obviously in Mulholland Drive. They've appeared in Lost Highway, and I feel like this is a kind of an extension of those themes and things. I feel like he had more stuff to say about those things and perhaps has used Twin Peaks in that way to return to them. And like I was saying earlier, to kind of touch on what it means to prolong something and carry it on, even when perhaps, you know, it might not have been the right decision to try and carry it on, or it's a kind of you're pursuing a dying dream, you're pursuing this logic, this kind of end, this resolution that you're not going to get, and I think everyone kind of felt like. 25 years we haven't had a resolution. What happened? You know, will Coop make it out? And we still don't have that resolution, and that's why if there isn't a season 4, I'm okay with it. I feel like on the whole, these last two episodes, I don't feel satisfied I think that's okay. I think it's okay to feel that way, and I'm not saying, you know, that it's like perfection or like perfect TV.
Oh no, no, it's not.
Yeah,
there's been a lot wrong with the series. You could have cut so much out of it.
Yeah,
did not need to be 18.
No, it did not. I think in a way, maybe we should be happy that he did, because maybe some of those scenes with people that weren't necessarily plot sensitive or main plot sensitive would have just gone. So, you know, nice little bits with let me think.
Norma and Big Ed.
Yeah, for example.
Yeah,
that might not have happened if they hadn't extended out. So I you know, I'll give it some leeway. But I mean, we had all that stuff in episodes 1 and 2. You know, the lady at Ruth Davenport's apartment block. You know, we had a whole thing. We had a whole thing with her. We had a whole thing with the maintenance guy who appeared to be on the phone to someone.
Yeah.
You know,
there's lots of little things that like all drop.
Yeah.
It's like bored.
Yeah, and I feel a part of that as well is kind of like his this kind of, you know, tendency to leave red herrings and make people go, what does it mean, when he has no intention of those things don't matter, or, you know, maybe they do matter because they don't matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same in terms of not being satisfied, and I was quite. I mean, you know, I'm obviously quite down on elements of the final episode, like just because it just takes a long while to get there, lots of driving. It's like, I do like the way it ends though. I think it's got such a
like the ending
horrifyingly, it's such a horrifyingly hopeless feel to it.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to do that with even modern horror. I think the most recent. I'm trying to think of the most recent horror film that I saw that felt hopeless. Life has a particular ending like that, but I can't really go into spoilers. We spoke about on the podcast, like, in terms of like the ending. I haven't seen any more of them, but the ending of Insidious 1. I really like in the sense that you think, oh, it's all happy then, and then something happens. It's very, and we said it. I think it might have been myself or you or Chris. Like we said, how the ending's kind of runs a little parallel to the original Twin Peaks, where the person goes to the magical world to save someone, comes back, and it's not them; it's something inhabiting their body. And it's got this horror. There's a lot of dread right at the end when she takes the photo and her expression changes, and you're like you were saying at the ending of this, where your stomach just drops and you go, "Oh, something's wrong."
Yeah.
It's very difficult to I think to pull that off in anything where, because 9 times out of 10 it's very you can go, oh, I saw that coming. But despite my problem with the episode or how it feels like there was a lot that wasn't really going anywhere in this season, I do like the ending just because it's just so, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Because Dale is, it seems like at this point, because we have to remember he was in that place for 25 years. So when he comes out and he's himself for a while, but he's trying to stop something, but he seems to be running on an instinct sometimes when he goes to this other dimension, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And at the end, it's kind of, it's really sad to see him look so confused and just ask what year it is.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a bit of a moment of clarity for him as well, as he almost like snaps out of it temporarily. He's like, what fucking year is this?
Yeah, and I've heard some people say it's also, it's reflective. Say like if you're in a downward spiral, so you're going down, and down and down and down, but like, that idea of clawing onto things is like the idea of Dale, like who he is that he's like a hotshot FBI person, so it's all about kind of like justice and solving the problem, and so that's his kind of like last desperate grasps at reality. That's who he is, trying to claw onto something, because nothing makes sense in this place that he's in, and it's just so beautifully horrible.
It is. It's wonderful. It's like I said. It's kind of it's not a bleak ending, but there's just a lot of dread behind it.
There is.
As soon as they get to the house and the Palmers don't live there, there's that worry. Like, wait, what? This isn't right. So what have you done, Dale? What have you done? and then it's like I said, he momentarily snaps out of him because when he asks, what year is it, he's not saying it strangely like he was talking before. He says it like very, very normal. He seems very normal at that point. Like what? Almost like he's woken up from a dream.
Yeah.
Like, what year is this? Because he's been stuck in the lodge for 25 years, and that we know that in that realm, time doesn't act the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Although time is still a constant linear thing in outside of the lodge or the White Lodge, wherever this plane is, it moves so differently there. Because I know, like, I just remembered as well, like when he's walking through the lodge one final time, and he's walking down the corridor, and he starts to move his hands, and his right hand, and the curtain starts to move. So it's almost like he's starting to have an influence over it.
Yeah.
So he's obviously been there long enough to know he can do that.
Yeah.
So he might have been there even longer than 25 years, knowing what that place is like.
I think what we're learning here is you never go full Jeffries. It's just not a good idea.
Yes, that's why Jeffries didn't come back. That's why because you think, and again, when Jeffries turns up at the FBI, he's talking so strange. He's not making any sense. And he's walking weird as well. And then he walks in, there's that weird thing in his leg, and he starts talking like disjointed and not making much sense.
Yeah.
He just rests his chin.
And it almost feels like we as the audience kind of like were under this weird kind of sense of security where we thought, oh, that can't happen to our Dale, but it can, and it has, and it's crushing.
Yeah, I mean, also, because the way it ends when she screams and then all the lights go off and then it turns black. Maybe it's that Judy's won, and this is like some kind of punishment that she's bestowed upon Dale, or it's like, oh well, you stopped me from having an event, but fuck you, gotcha.
Yeah, I've heard some people paint
gotcha.
that as kind of a victory against Judy, that they've trapped Judy in some kind of other dimension, and that.
No, I don't believe that.
I think that's a kind of a very optimistic, kind of hopeful take on it, which I think that the whole atmosphere and sense of everything goes against that.
I think this could be Judy's world, because let's not forget that Carrie Page was working at Judy's.
Yes,
she was working for Judy. So that's just why I think, because I think, you know, that I was quite sour on it when it first finished, and I just thought, well, that was a bit of shit. In terms, not because of the end, I like the ending, but I mean just the journey, like 16 hours, 16 weeks, 18 hours of this stuff, and it's like, where did we really go? Because that's what I was getting worried before. But then I started to think about this, and I was like, oh, maybe that if it was this and this, that could be quite cool. Again, it's all well and good if this gets a full season.
Yeah, I think maybe the last thing we should talk about briefly is just whether we think a season 4 is going to happen, and what that would mean.
Yeah, because
I think if there was a season 4, we'd be dealing with multiple universes. So, first off, it's going to be even harder to work out where and when something is happening. If time travel and alternate dimensions are involved. You'd also presumably have multiple Coopers, and I'm not just talking about, you know, the new Dougie. I'm talking about multiple Dale Coopers in different branches of reality, presumably as well. So,
is it like the Agent Smith syndrome?
Yeah. we keep coming back to Matrix today, but yeah, and then all of them have to join into one giant Dale Cooper, who will fight against Carrie Page in the rain.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see. Because the thing is that, so I'm thinking about this, and now I'm starting to remember why I was so down on the finale of the show. Because, like I said, I like the ending because it's just hot. It really unsettled me. I felt really skeeved out by it. Like, you know, the hairs were like, just thinking about those lights turn off. There's just something so unsettling about that. Because you know, lights don't just turn off in a house like that. Not when someone's screaming. And also the soundtrack helps. But there's a lot of stuff like, what was the point of Red?
Yeah.
What was going on at the Roadhouse? Why were we constantly introduced to characters talking about people we never meet?
Yeah.
And the big one, the massive one for me is, what the fuck is going on with Audrey?
Yeah. I feel for me, if they'd cut out some of the rubbish, they could have still kept some of the nice character moments as fan service.
Oh yeah, totally.
You could have had a punchier 10-episode run, I think.
Oh, definitely.
But I mean, there's part of me, even though it's frustrating, even though that it wasn't entirely satisfying, there is a part of me that is, you know, it's just happy to go on the journey wherever David Lynch is taking us, because, you know, we've watched enough, you know, sort of media at this point to know, oh, we're heading towards the climax. So end of the third act, we're going to have the climax, and it's going to happen here, happen there. And with other shows, you know, and movies, that will just happen as you expect it to happen. Maybe not 100% all the details, but, you know, you'll get a kind of pacing is what I'm talking about. And there is something to be said for someone doing something that goes against your expectations. So, so having episode 17 halfway through, we've already gotten rid of Mr. C and Bob. There was a part of me going, well, what happens next? So, you know, it was intriguing, and to have something like that happen is really good, because it shakes up the kind of the formulaic nature of quite a lot of narratives. But at the same time, there's a reason that those formulaic narrative kind of structures work, and that's because, you know, they don't piss about and waste people's time. So there's kind of there is probably a middle ground where you get shaken up, but at the same time, you don't maybe waste 16 hours of not waste, but, you know, maybe there's something to be said for a bit better pacing. But at the same time, I'm happy that it takes risks and it does weird things.
Oh, totally.
So yeah.
I'm fine. I'm definitely fine with that. Yeah, it just it did feel like the last half of episode 17 and obviously 18 was setting up something like I said, it felt like it was setting up another season.
It is a perfect setup for another season. I mean, I will say that, and I'm sure, even though we can't exactly grasp in our minds right now exactly what kind of form that would take, I'm sure, they could write it. I'm sure there's something they could do that would work.
And obviously, because people are saying, "Oh, it's a victory." Like, I'm pretty sure the fact that once she finishes. Well, she doesn't finish. Once it cuts from her screaming, and then hits the credits. I'm pretty sure if it was a happy finale, it would not have morose music, playing over.
Yeah, we haven't touched
Laura,
on the final shot, have we?
Yeah, which is Laura. Because we've seen it a couple of times in this season. Is Laura whispering a new message into his ear, and then when his reaction is obviously very telling. He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" It's that kind of what. And the whole credit sequence plays over her, like it's all slowed down, obviously because the credits, because the credits moves around every time, is her whispering the message into his ear. So I'm pretty sure if it was a happy ending, we wouldn't have morose music and her whispering that in his ear, because obviously it's something very important.
I think so. As I was saying earlier, I think the tone, people kind of shooting this optimistic form of an ending are completely ignoring the tone and the atmosphere and all of those things. I said it was very much about what I was feeling. They're ignoring all those feelings, going against that. So
they're ignoring Cooper not knowing what year it is. Carrie/Laura screaming as she hears her mother's spooky voice coming from Death House, and then the Death House having all the lights turned off. That's not a happy ending.
Yeah. When Cooper said, "What year is it?" Ending. Like the first thing that appeared in my mind was the guy from the end of, because I've never actually seen it, but obviously through cultural osmosis I've picked up things. There's that scene at the end of Planet of the Apes where he hits his hand on the beach and he goes, "You bastards, you did it," or whatever. "You've actually did it," and it's like it was Earth all along, that kind of thing. So that is like a hopeless ending. You don't you don't come back from that to win some kind of victory, especially against what is presumably amorphous, all-powerful evil.
More powerful than Bob.
An interesting thing about Jowday, I've seen various people on both sides saying this. Some people have said that apparently it translates as "to explain." And so people are saying that perhaps the ultimate evil is explanation, and that's why, people have literally posited this as a theory. They said, the whole thing about having to make Laura Palmer's murder get solved, and the whole idea of explaining things is kind of antithetical. It runs against the kind of the DNA of Twin Peaks and what Mark Frost and David Lynch were trying to do. So I can kind of see that, but at the same time I've also seen plenty of people discredit this translation. And some people have offered that apparently a closer kind of phonetic translation would be something like "to scream."
Yes, that's what I read.
Yeah, so who knows? I mean, it could mean all of those things and none of those things, but I don't think we're ever going to get an answer in regards to that. Also, I thought it was quite interesting. Did you notice the very final, at the end when you have the Frost Lynch Productions, that there was no electricity?
Yeah, there's no sound.
That was beautiful. Because first off, I can understand, sometimes shows have sad endings and they don't have any music, or, the usual things don't apply because they've set a mood and they don't want to ruin the mood. But I also can't help but theorize about what that means in terms of because the whole thing is about electricity and charge and all of the lodges kind of use energy and talk about energy and electricity. So the fact that it's not running at the end and the fact that the lights go out as well, to me it seems so final. That if there is a season 4, I mean, like I said, I'm sure they can do it. This felt so, it had a kind of ringing finality to me that I don't see changing. So, Well, okay. We've been going for nearly 2 hours, so what I can say is that we promise we will see you again in 25 years.
I'll come back to the podcast.
Perhaps a little earlier. We're planning to do an episode. We're going to the Twin Peaks UK Festival. I'm going to go on Saturday, and Matt's going both days. In fact, you may well be listening to this after we handed you a card. So if you did, thank you. That's awesome. Please comment or say hello.
Okay. I'll just also, if you are listening to this after having met us at the meet us. That's good. That's English. Good me. Met us at the Twin Peaks Festival. I apologise for my cynicism, but that's me. So you're gonna have to.
They've already met us at the festival, and now they're listening.
And I was a grumpy bastard.
So is it future or is it past?
Yeah. Yes. You may remember me. I was the person throwing donuts at James, telling him to stop singing. No, I
can't wait for that concert. Are you kidding me?
I can't wait as well because that means that's when I can go and get a coffee. I got some fresh air. No,
I'm going to be front row with the lighter.
You'll like be the only person who's like, thanks. Thank you. Just boozing off stage. No, it'll probably like play music. That'll be great, and then you'll start to play that, and I don't know what kind of reaction. Like honestly, I don't know what kind of reaction there will be when he plays Just You. If he plays it, I think it would be unwise.
I think it would be unwise, but at the same time, I don't think we live in a reality, Matt, where that won't happen. So
people boo it when it's mentioned.
Well, I don't know. I've just never hated it that much.
I hate it. The only good thing about it is that we get a really cool Bob moment when he fucking terrifies Maddie. That's like the only good thing. You get that fucking terrifying moment when he like slowly crawls over the couch like you're in a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
That's the only good bit.
Well, we will be going to the festival, and hopefully you've met us there, and say hello. We'll be doing an episode about the festival after we've been, not before, because we're not Philip Jeffries. We're also probably going to do an episode once the final dossier hits. Have you got it pre-ordered? Because I've got it pre-ordered.
No, I haven't.
I'm going to try and read The Secret History of Twin Peaks between now and then. As far as I gather, it's basically going to be It's basically things that he would have put in that, but would have been spoilerish. I think in terms of characters and the time between Twin Peaks and now. So perhaps things to do with Audrey and what have you. I think we'll get some gaps filled in regards to that. You know, like, because the whole thing takes the form of like reports and notes and stuff. So you probably get like medical reports about Audrey and stuff, I'm presuming.
Yeah.
So we'll do an episode on that. So it's not the end, but hey, if season 4 happens, we'll be back here doing it.
We'll be right there. Yeah, we'll be right there.
I'm not sure.
Criticize it.
Yeah. I'm not sure what we'll make the next sidecast about. Actually, maybe have you seen Westworld?
No, I haven't watched it.
I might try and convince you and Chris to watch Westworld season 1 so we can watch season 2 when it comes out, because that's another very heavy theorizing program. So we could talk theories all day on that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a think about what we want to do, but it would be nice to do something we can all do.
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah. So I mean, until then, stay spoiled, stay very, very confused, and we'll be back soon. Take care.
Bye.
If you like Spoilers of the Damned, don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes.
Team Wolfcat production.